Welcome everyone to a new season of the Zero to Play podcast. I'm your host Carl Leduc, and today I'm just going to give a quick update and share some of my favorite bits from the last season. So if you want to get straight to the value, just jump over to episode 2 with Kathy Dongo right now. So those that are interested in a little behind the scenes and just some raw commentary on what is going on, sit back, relax, and enjoy episode 1 of season 3 of the Zero to Play podcast. Okay, so as you would have seen, there's now a new intro that I worked on. Didn't take me long to do, but I just liked that it infused some of the video content that I shot over last season. And yeah, it's just a bit of fun, a bit of creativity that I can put into the show at the moment. So yeah, that was fun to make. So yeah, season 3. Gosh, we are halfway through the year right now. I did not think that I would get to this. I, I did not know what it would feel like, but every week this year I have recorded or uploaded a new podcast with a different guest in the games industry. And honestly, it's been such an incredible experience. I think I'm going to say that every season, but it just keeps getting better and better, and I'm so excited to see where it's going to go. So this is episode 27 at the moment that you're listening to, the first episode of season 3. I saw this really neat thing yesterday on Twitter that said 90% of podcasts don't go past episode 20. And the fact that I've already got the next 3 guests booked, I've got ideas and things for the future. I don't see this slowing down at all. That was a really encouraging thing to read, to know that just that this podcast is happening. It's building momentum, and I'm really enjoying it. The whole experience has been really cool. So yeah, just a few other things that are new that I'm hoping to bring to this season of the show. I'm going to add an outro. Right now the episodes just kind of end abruptly, so I'm just going to add a pre-recorded intro, just so that the podcast end in like a more lighthearted way, and there's an opportunity for me to tease and uh, I guess plug other areas of the podcast or the show. Another area that I'm going to add. Sorry, another area that I'm going to add is like ultimately it's going to be a sponsored segment of the show once I start having sponsors. But right now it's just going to be an area where I can promote and support other uh, people and companies that I admire, that I think you would admire as well. So there's no kind of transaction behind it, but for me, I want it to be good practice for me, getting ads and sponsored segments in the future. So that's something I'm going to trial this season. Let me know what you think. It's just, I mean, this podcast is completely produced by me right now, so I'm just having fun with it. I'm just exploring areas that I think are important and would be valuable for me. So listen to the next episode to hear the outro and the supported segment. That's what I'm going to call it, sometime throughout the episode. And as always, yeah, I'd love your thoughts, and if you think it works, if you think it's really really disruptive and you think I should remove it, any thoughts, just send me a message. Twitter is the best place to get hold of me. I love the community that I'm building over there, whether it's on the Zero to Play Twitter account or it's on my personal Carl's Content Twitter account. Love talking to you guys in the community there, so keep that up. I love that. What else do I have to share? The new, I might make a new logo, new banner. I might play around with an intro teaser of every podcast. This is a little bit more work for me, and I don't really have the time right now to spend too much time on each episode. But one thing that I do think would be valuable is having like a 15 to 30-second snippet of the podcast at the very beginning of each show. We'll see if that ends up happening. I think it all comes down to if I've got time to find that bit in the show to put there while I'm editing it. But we'll see. That's another area that I want to play around with. And excuse my snotty nose. I have a bit of a cold. So I'm drinking my cup of tea here, but yeah, I mean, it's so funny because this is what episode 27, but it's these solo podcasts that I feel the most nervous recording and the most unprepared for. When I'm interviewing someone, I know I know that and I think I said this last time as well. Um, I like putting together questions, having an idea of how the talk's going to go, and listening to someone and kind of bouncing off someone. But in these solo episodes, I feel so out of my comfort zone. But I do think it's a good skill to try and learn and grow. So thank you for bearing with me during this awkward time of me talking on my own to the camera. Yeah, so I just want to run through season two's guests. So first guest was Jacob Navoke, and he was such an incredible guest, and it feels like so long ago that I spoke to him. It came out on April 5th, which is 2 months ago. Oh yeah, almost 3 months ago. Wow. Yeah, 2.5 months ago. And that was an incredible conversation just to talk about the metaverse and understanding just what interactive streaming and interactive content really is. That was for me a real personal, real powerful interview that I felt I really changed my perspective on just the potential of games and where it might be going in the future. He's someone that I feel really understands what the metaverse is, and it's a buzzword that gets thrown around a lot, but I really thought that talk was valuable. Sam Barham, great New Zealand um, game developer. And actually, on that note, a few things that are happening in my life at the moment. I'm a production coordinator at Rocketworks working on Icarus in Auckland, New Zealand. And Icarus is a survival game. It's actually launching on August 11th, which is in less than 2 months. So we're starting to get very close to delivering that, which means my time is being sucked more and more into that, which is just, I guess, one thing to be mindful of. If you feel like the quality of the podcast isn't kind of rising as fast as you'd want it to, that's how I'm going to feel. It's because I just purely don't have enough time to invest in it. So Icarus is going to be taking up a lot of my time over the course of this season, and also because I'm on the board of the New Zealand Game Developers Association, I am helping organize the NZGDC, which is the New Zealand Game Developers Conference that the NZGDA organize. And that is happening a week before Icarus launches, which is the beginning of August. So both those things are starting to take more and more of my time, and the podcast, me trying to book guests and network and grow that way. It's so far it feels manageable. I have a lot of people that I want to reach out to and that I'm still waiting to book a time to have on the show. So we will see how tough things really get. But I am really at the beginning of both of those things really ramping up. So that's just another thing to be mindful of, that I'll be experiencing throughout the next few months. So yeah, Sam Barham, speaking of him, he's going to be the keynote speaker or one of the keynote speakers at NZGDC. Sam Barham, as well as Sarah Clemens, who's the COO of Twitch. She's a Kiwi, and she's going to be doing a digital keynote to the conference, which is really exciting. So yeah, NZGDC has been an amazing opportunity for me to network, and who knows, I might bring some people that I meet through that onto the podcast and vice versa. It's all part of the games industry. Everyone is here to help each other and to learn and grow, and who knows where these kind of opportunities might lead. And speaking of opportunities, just the last episode of season 2 was with Cordell Robin Coker. And also a few weeks before that, I had a guest, Eleanor Arponen. Cordell is the CEO of Carry First, which is a company in Africa, trying to be a publisher to help bridge the gap between international game studios and the African games market. And that was an incredible episode, understanding and deconstructing what is happening over there. I recommend listening to all these episodes, but that one in particular was very just new. I hadn't spoken to anyone in that sector before, and he did what he's doing there is awesome. So I'm going off on tangents. Him and Elena Arponen, who's the CEO and co-founder of Quicksave Interactive, a company in Helsinki, Finland, those two people were made. They were brought to my attention by Taylor Hurst, who's a senior associate at Convoy Ventures that I interviewed in season 1. And I've been continuing to talk with him since our interview. And because Convoy Ventures was part of the funding rounds of these companies, he helped make the connection to get me to interview these people, which is such an incredible full circle. I mean, it's just, I think the power of podcasting, the power of social media, and just connecting with other people that are passionate about the same things. Thanks to Taylor for making those connections and helping me have those conversations that are perfectly aligned with the kind of things that I'm curious about learning more about, and that I'm happy to share the stories of those people. So check out Cordell and Eleanor's talk to see what they're doing. And it's you never know what someone might say that will impact you and inspire you. And if something does, please share it with me, because I find myself being inspired at the most random times. Yeah, it's really quite fascinating, and there might be more guests like that, thanks to Taylor and Convoy Ventures, that will be made. So yeah, thanks again to them for making these opportunities. Other Lual Mayen, who was a refugee when he grew up, and that inspired him to make games for social change. What an incredible conversation. I'm loving having these conversations with just people from all different backgrounds in the world. It's making me feel very just open-minded, and just thinking about the world from everyone's perspective. And if I'm being honest, I do feel as a white male, and living in a first world country, like, I do feel very privileged, and that is something that I am actively trying to do a better job of. That's just being more inclusive, more diverse, open-minded, and I hope that that comes through in the podcast and the guests. And not that I'm actively trying to um, push a narrative or anything, but it's the way it's naturally come out has made me feel really happy with the kind of guests just from all over the world. Nicholas Cebatiel, who's from Germany, or Belgium, I think he's Germany, an AR VR developer, and the conversation with him was really fascinating. And um, yeah, I just wanted to kind of scroll through the previous guests that I've interviewed this month. Fid McAwesome from Australia. He's really well connected in the industry, and just having interviewed him led to a lot of other connections with people in the game development scene in New Zealand, and I'm really grateful for that. Kyle Banks, indie developer of Farewell North. It's exciting because now I can look forward to that game when it's released, and help support him with that. My biggest episode from last season, I don't know if you guys would have noticed, but John Epler, who is the narrative director at BioWare, when I posted the teaser to him being on the show, there was a whole community of Dragon Age Inquisition fans, like super fans, that helped push, spread the word. They followed the podcast. Some of them even continuing to share the episodes that aren't anything related to Bioware. And that was a really cool, just organic. Well, it was super interesting to see all these fans of Dragon Age and Mass Effect come into the ecosystem of the show. So that was really cool to see. Just John Epler and the community that he has behind him was incredible, and really fun. And that was a bit of fun that I saw in social media, just with different people in different communities and what those communities are like. That's something that I'm enjoying exploring as well. Yeah, Johnny Jennings on Tandon. Um, these are all, yeah, guests from season 2. I can't wait for you guys to see the kind of people that I'll speak to in season 3. But the more people I talk to, the more people I find out about that I want to interview, and it seems to be this never-ending well of people that I find interesting, and it just makes me even more curious as to where this whole thing is going to go, and grow to. So, yeah, that's a bit of a recap on season 2. Season 3, I'm really happy that I've done incorporated video now and that I'm posting on YouTube. I'm really happy that I got this microphone, this Blue Yeti, that just ups the quality a little bit and makes it a bit more pleasant to listen to. Once I get sponsors and once there's a bit, revenue being generated from the podcast, I'm going to look at investing in a proper, um, audio engineer to help up the quality. I haven't got the time and I haven't got the skills to just make the quality of the podcast better. So that's one thing that I'm hoping to do in the long term. It's not something that I'm in a rush to do, but something that I definitely would like to do is just try and grow the team a little bit more behind the podcast. Whether it's finding an editor to help create teasers and segments of different interviews that will make it easier to consume the information and the value, and split the episodes up into nice little chunks that are easy to understand, and be made aware of, whether it's through like Instagram, IGTV, and that kind of thing, like shorter little 1 to 2 minute moments from podcasts, which I don't have the time to do right now. Another thing I'm working on is transcribing. I know that's something that's been requested a few times before, is just having all the episodes transcribed and maybe posted on a website that people can search through or find certain buzzwords that are mentioned in different podcasts and then listen to those. That's definitely something I would like to do, but again, it takes time and money and skills that I don't have at the moment. So that is definitely something that's on my radar, and we'll see how long it takes. Maybe I can do a trial of it soon after I get sponsors to see how much it costs, how much time it takes, and that kind of thing. Um, yeah, I actually on Twitter yesterday I asked if anyone had any questions for me to answer on the podcast, and I did actually have a few questions come in. So let me just pull these up real quick. So the first one came in from a friend of mine, Chris. He says, "Are you mad it took you so long to start this podcast?" So I thought about this when I saw a messenger, and I wouldn't say I'm mad, because, for example, my first job in the games industry was in 2014 at a mobile gaming company called Gameloft. I was a QA tester. If I had started this podcast then, it's weird. I almost feel like I couldn't have, because it was so early on in my journey. I definitely felt like when I started this podcast soon after I was at Rocketworks for 6 months when I started this, and I just kind of followed the momentum in my train of thought that led to this, and because of the amount of confidence and understanding I had of the industry, it worked out. But I don't feel like if I had started it 5 years ago, I would be 5 years ahead now. Um, if that makes sense, because I've grown so much in that time, and I just feel like now was the right time. I could have started it, in 2014 and then given up after 10 episodes, and that probably would have ruined my confidence, and I probably wouldn't have started it again. Just the way it's all panned out this year with me being part of the NZGDA, and me with my job at Rocketworks, and then me re-entering the games industry from being out of it for a few years when I went to Vancouver and worked as a content creator. Uh, I I came back into the games industry with this energy and this fire, and that's what led to me wanting to make the podcast, and has led to the kind of momentum continuing to build. So I don't think I'm mad, and I think the time was just right. And I don't think if I had started it earlier, it necessarily would have been the exact same thing. I don't think it would have been as good or felt as right. It definitely doesn't feel forced, and that's what I really like about this whole experience so far. Game Developer Guild, which is Josh says, what are your plans for future Zero to Play episodes? Will there be a live one up in the future? That's a really good question, and something I've thought about a lot. I don't really have the equipment or setup to do live podcasts right now. Um, I mean, and like there's live as in live on Twitch or Instagram live, and then there's live as in person, and interviewing someone on, say, like a couch in front of me, and then there's even having a live audience. And I've thought about all of these, and I might even experiment. I have definitely thought about this, doing like a networking event where there is a live guest that I interview, and then there's a mingling and networking afterwards. And that's something I've thought about, that who knows, might happen in the future. I don't really have time to think about it now or over the next few months because I'm too busy. But later on in the year, maybe if I've got time, that's something I can play around with. I think doing it live on Twitch or YouTube or Instagram isn't really on my agenda yet. I'm not really like a live person, if that makes sense. I really like produced content, and I really like taking the time to edit and craft just a better, more premium type of content. I think it's just because I worked as a content creator and a videographer for so long that I see the potential of intro music or outros. Well, who knows? I might be able to incorporate that into a live show, but at this stage, it's very much out of my skill set. So I'd need to partner up with someone that does understand that space a lot. But at work here, we do weekly or bi-weekly dev vlogs, or we do dev vlogs, but we also do streaming with the community, and that's been cool to see just how they the setup that there is here, and how that unfolds. So there's definitely people here that have those skills that I'm just kind of observing from afar and seeing how they do it and how it works. And who knows. So the answer, Josh, is no. There's no plans yet. But as long as I keep consistency and stay uploading a new episode every week of the podcast, then who knows what the future holds. I think it's definitely possible. It's just time, really, time and money at the moment. Yeah. So those are a few things. Only a couple of questions came in. I don't think there was anything else I wanted to say. I don't want to tease any of the future guests because, as I've experienced already, sometimes things can fall through last minute, and the last thing I want to do is I've mentioned some things on Twitter in the past about guests that I haven't recorded with yet, and I don't like doing that. So I'm just not going to tease until until I finish the recording and it's in the bag and it's just being held for a few weeks. Only then will I tease someone. But some people that I've got lined up to record with, I don't want to mention just in case it doesn't happen, because life. Yeah. So That's kind of it. That's a recap on season 2. Thanks for listening to episode 1 of season 3. Definitely go listen to Kathy Dongo, which is she's an area sales manager for Capcom in USA and Canada, and she also worked at Nintendo for like 6 years. Um, excuse me. And we had a great conversation. I really appreciated her take on women in games, tips on networking, and just the games industry as a whole from a corporate perspective, because there's so many roles in games that aren't directly related to programming, and she really shined a light on those roles and encouraging people to apply for jobs in games that when you don't feel like you're necessarily a programmer. So go listen to that episode. I thought it was really powerful. And let me know what you think on Twitter at Zero to Play afterwards. I'd appreciate to continue the conversation there. So yeah, thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys again next week. All right. See you later.